These are my top 10 players for the 2027 NBA season. Not the best players right now, but the players I think will be the best throughout next season. And kicking the list off at number 10, I've got Kawhi Leonard. I really tossed and turned with having Kawhi on this list. And the reason for that is, of course, the injuries. But when he played last season, he was flat out ridiculous. In the 65 games he played last season, he averaged 27.9 points a game on 63% true shooting. Data Baller had 48% of his shot diet coming from creation looks, meaning either out of isolation as a pick and roll ball handler or in post-up looks. And on those shots, he was a plus 6.6 relative true shooting on those attempts. So nearly half of his shots came from difficult self-created offense. And on those looks, he was nearly 7% true shooting better than league average. And now that he's in Toronto, that is exactly what they need. They were missing someone who could reliably get them a bucket in the half court, especially after Brandon Ingram completely dropped off in the playoffs yet again. Kawhi's offensive on-off rating was a plus 10.3, which was in the 100th percentile a year ago. That should be music to Raptors fans' ears. The fit should also make life easier defensively. Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray-Boyles can really take the tougher defensive assignments. So Kawhi isn't going to have to defend the best player every night. And the crazy part about it is how he can still play really high-level defense. Crafted NBA had him in the 86th percentile overall as a defensive player, thriving at defending without fouling and generating deflections. The risk, though, is obvious. His body has definitely let him down before. But Toronto only needs him to create offense, stay at least solid defensively, and then close out games as well. If the Raptors can manage him properly, I think that's enough to put Kawhi back inside the top 10. Now, coming in at number 9, I've got Jalen Brunson. Brunson was probably the most controversial name I had on this list when I posted it to Reddit. Some people thought 9 was disrespectful. Other people said that New York had built such a complete roster around him that he shouldn't have even been in the top 10. And honestly, I can see both sides. The Knicks certainly can cover for his biggest weaknesses. You've got Bridges, Anunoby, and Hart who can take away the tougher defensive assignments, while Cat gives them another player who can carry the offense. But this is where I just continue to come back to. When the playoffs begin, Brunson's value goes up. During New York's championship run, he gave them 28.4 points a game on 57% true shooting. Every defense knew the ball was going through him, and yet he just continued to find ways to create shots when New York really needed him to. Nothing proved that more than the closeout game in the NBA Finals. Brunson scored 45 points when pretty much no one else on the court could make a shot. Now, there are still players above him who have more size and better defense, but the playoffs are winning time, and Brunson always rises when the pressure does. And that is why I have to have him in this list here at number 9. Now, coming in at number 8, I've got Cade Cunningham. The Pistons did not go as far as people anticipated in the playoffs. No way around it. But Cade wasn't the problem. He was excellent all season long, and he did the most without having a lot of spacing around him. He averaged 23.9 points a game with 9.9 assists on 56% true shooting. But that assist number alone doesn't explain how good his passing actually was. Cunningham averaged 5.2 rim assists per 100 possessions, which was firmly in the 100th percentile league-wide, and his overall passer rating was in the 98th percentile. So what all that means is that he was creating high-quality shots at the rim time and time again, even when teams were heavily loading up on him because the Pistons lacked three-point shooting. Now he gets Isaiah Joe, Kevin Huerter's coming back, and John Collins is another front court player who can take and make a three. So with that in mind, I think everything's going to feel a little easier for him offensively next season. Cade can use his size, get to the middle of the floor, and work out of the mid-range without seeing as much help. And when the defense does ultimately decide to collapse on him, he's already one of the better playmakers in the NBA. And now he's going to have better shooting to make defenses pay. Crafted NBA had him in the 96th percentile offensively, which included the 100th percentile ranking for load and the 99th percentile for creation. The Pistons were asking him to pretty much do everything last season, but somehow he still managed to be productive defensively too. He easily could have just hidden behind all the good defenders that the Pistons have, but he did not do that. He led from the front and he competed every single night. Sure, Jalen Brunson is the more proven playoff talent, but Cade's size, two-way value, and ridiculous workload just push him above Brunson for me. With better floor spacing next season, I think we're about to see the best season of Cade Cunningham's career. Now, coming in at number 7, I've got the return of Jason Tatum. That Achilles injury completely derailed last season. Yes, he made a heroic return late, but he was just never quite in good enough shape to carry Boston out of the first round. And he eventually had to miss Game 7. Then Boston goes and makes the most confusing decision of the deadline, trading Jaylen Brown in the prime of his career for a 36-year-old Paul George. From a franchise standpoint, I still want someone to explain it to me. But individually, I think this could really help Tatum. PG is more comfortable playing off the ball than Jaylen Brown was. So I expect a far more Tatum-centric offense this season. JT should have full point forward responsibilities, be initiating far more possessions, and carry the highest usage rate of his career. With the three-point shooting that Boston still has, I think close to 30 points per game for JT next season is realistic. We all know the talent, his shooting, playmaking, size, defense, and speed off the dribble. But now we finally get to see how far it actually scales when everything is running through him. I remember a few years ago, people were arguing that Tatum could put up Luka Doncic level numbers if he had Luka's usage. Well, now we're actually going to find out if that's true. I think next season will give him the best chance to prove just how good he actually is. Now, coming in at number 6, I've got Anthony Edwards. It really does feel wrong to not have him in the top 5. But that's just how strong the NBA is right now. I gained so much respect for Ant during the playoffs just gone. He entered the first round on one bad knee, then he hyperextends the other, but still comes back weeks earlier than expected and puts up monstrous games against San Antonio in the second round. He averaged 28.8 points a game on 61% true shooting last regular season, so 30 points a game could be in his future. Even in the playoffs while playing hurt, 41% of his shots came from creation looks, where he still was a plus 1.1 relative true shooting on those looks. Now Minnesota can make his job easier because he gets to play alongside of LaMelo Ball. The bigger question with Ant has always been whether he can consistently make the right reads as a decision maker. LaMelo is going to be able to carry a lot of that responsibility while also finding him on cuts, off-ball screens, and allowing Ant to have easier possessions. Less responsibility doesn't automatically mean less Anthony Edwards. In my mind, it means easier Anthony Edwards. Crafted NBA had him in the 98th percentile as an overall offensive player last season, while being in the 92nd percentile for load and the 91st percentile for creation. With LaMelo, we should anticipate him getting easier baskets and only having to completely backpack the offense when he's playing in the non-LaMelo minutes. The other reason I have him this high is because every off-season, the guy just continues to get way better. 2 off-seasons ago, it was the three-point shot, evolving that part of his game from a weakness into a legitimate strength. Then, in the off-season just gone, it was the mid-range and post-up game, going from looking a little bit rushed and confused to genuinely polished last season. So, if he can make another leap anywhere close to what he just did in the previous 2 seasons, then who knows just how good Anthony Edwards is going to look in 2027. Now, coming in at number 5, I've got Luka Doncic. Before he got hurt, Luka was having an unbelievable season. He averaged 33.5 points a game on 62% true shooting, while spending 42% of his minutes on the ball. The Lakers' offense was basically in his hands every single game. Data Baller had 60% of his shot diet coming from creation looks, and he had a plus 8.5 relative true shooting percentage on those attempts. So most of his offense was coming from difficult self-created shots, being defended by the best defensive players in the NBA, while having every kind of coverage under the sun being thrown at him. And yet, he was still massively more efficient than league average. He was in the 100th percentile as an overall offensive player last season, carrying some of the heaviest load and creation in the league, while also having a passer rating in the 95th percentile, a stat that grades just how good of a playmaker someone really is. Then March was the month where everything clicked. Over that time, Luka put up 37.5 points a game, 8 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 2.3 steals, while shooting 49% from the floor and 39% from 3. That was the best month of basketball that Luka Doncic has ever played. But then, just as he was getting rolling, the Lakers lost him at the beginning of April, and he wasn't able to return for the playoffs. I still believe they would have lost to OKC, but you've got to wonder whether they really could have pushed the Thunder if Luka was available. Now LeBron James is gone, Austin Reeves will be the clear number 2 option next season, and it's officially Luka's team. Everything, and I mean everything, is going to run through him if it wasn't already. The addition of Walker Kessler, I believe, will help him out massively too. Luka was making it work with Jackson Hayes and DeAndre Ayton last season, and now he has a legitimate rim running and rebounding big man who can catch lobs and effectively play pick and roll with him. Last time, he had a legitimate NBA starting caliber center. Dallas went all the way to the NBA Finals. To me, Luka will remain in the top 5. Now, coming in at number 4, I've got Nikola Jokic. This is a pick that I think I'm going to hear a lot about in the comments, because leaving Jokic out of the top 3 certainly feels strange. For the 6th straight season, Jokic finished top 2 in the MVP voting, while averaging 27.7 points a game, a league-leading 12.9 rebounds, and a league-leading 10.7 assists. He became the first player to ever lead the NBA in both rebounds and assists in the same season. Crafted NBA had him in the 100th percentile offensively, the 99th percentile for passer rating, and the 100th percentile for load, creation, and portability. Offensively, he's basically impossible to criticize. The problem, though, was on the other end. Sure, the advanced numbers for Jokic defensively are actually pretty good, rating in the 97th percentile as an overall defender last season. But the Minnesota series is really why I don't buy into that too heavily. Offensively, he struggled to punish Rudy one-on-one. He shot just 19% from 3, And the most important part about it was how he was getting targeted time and time again defensively. Minnesota just spammed pick and rolls, putting him into actions, and it was working time and time again. Anthony Edwards was cooking. Jaden McDaniels was literally getting whatever he wanted. Ayo Dosunmu had a 40-point game off the bench just by attacking quickly, and even Terrence Shannon Jr. was dominating inside. Aaron Gordon's injury really exposed just how much Denver relies on him defensively. Gordon protects the back line and covers for Jokic, allowing the Joker to sit in the middle, quarterback the defense, get deflections, and finish possessions with rebounds. But when Gordon went out, Jokic had to defend the pick and rolls by himself. He had to slide his feet and try and stay in front, and none of it was working. Now, I'm not putting Denver's entire loss on his shoulders alone, but a lot of the reason why they lost that series was just because Jokic was nowhere near good enough. I really put a lot of value into the defensive side of the floor, and in my opinion, I don't think he's remotely close to being a 97th percentile defender. But to me, the biggest reason that he's not in the top 3 actually has nothing to do with Jokic himself. It has everything to do with who I've got at number 3, because this is where I've got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Last season was probably the lowest point for his career when we're talking about health and availability. He suited up for just 36 games and Milwaukee missed the playoffs. But even while battling through injuries, he still put up 27.6 points a game, 9.8 rebounds, and 5.4 assists on 66% true shooting. Crafted NBA still had him in the 99th percentile for an offensive player, and when he was out there, he was still Giannis. But why is it that I've got someone who played just 36 games a year ago higher than someone who was runner-up for MVP? Well, that's because this is the longest stretch that Giannis has had away from basketball in his life. His last professional basketball game was on March 15th. He's had no Greek national team commitments, and by the start of next season, he would have had 7 months away from organized basketball. After years of NBA seasons, playoff runs, playing through injuries, and international basketball, his body just didn't hold up last season. But now I believe he's going to be entering next season fresher than he's ever been and motivated to kickstart the next era of his career with Miami. Right now, I'm buying all of the Giannis stock. Next season, Giannis is going to be back to being in the conversation for the best player in the world. But it's the defensive fit that's got me really excited. Giannis was still in the 89th percentile for an overall defender last season and was in the 97th percentile for rim defense, with opponents shooting 12.5% worse than him at the basket, a number that's actually better than Victor Wembanyama. And now Bam Adebayo can take the main big man matchup away and allow Giannis to return to the roaming role where he's always been at his best. He can now rotate over to protect the rim, grab the rebound, and immediately start a fast break. That matters because Giannis is at his best when his team is elite defensively. I'm a Milwaukee fan, and after the Damian Lillard trade, the Bucks became way too offensively focused. Because of that, they stopped creating as many transition opportunities, and that took away the biggest weapon of Giannis: his ability to just be flat out unstoppable out in transition. I believe Miami will get right back to that with Bam, Davion Mitchell, and Andrew Wiggins. They will be able to get a stop, get the rebound, and let Giannis run. Jokic may be the better offensive player, but if Giannis is giving you 85% of what Jokic can while being the far better defensive player, to me, that's just a better basketball player. And in the 2027 season, I think we're about to see a monstrous bounce back season from the Greek Freak. Now, coming in at number 2, I've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's coming off back-to-back MVPs, And for stretches of last season, he was flat out incredible. Now, I do understand why people don't love watching him, and I'm low-key right there with you. He foul baits way too much, sells contact on damn near every jump shot, and there's just plenty of extracurricular activities going on. But in a ranking like this, the numbers are the numbers. SGA averaged 31.1 points a game on 67% true shooting a year ago. Databaller had 68% of his shot diet coming off creation looks. And on those attempts, he had a ridiculous plus 12.1 relative true shooting percentage. That is ridiculous. More than 2/3 of his shots required him to go and do it all by himself. And yet, he was still a staggering 12.1% true shooting than the league average on those looks. Oklahoma City were also a completely different team with him on the floor. Their offense was 9.9 points better with SGA in the game, and their net rating jumped from a plus 4.9 without him up to a plus 16.2 with him. He was turning a borderline playoff team into an all-time great team just on whether he was in the game or not. His playmaking also took a massive step forward last season, with his passer rating now in the 90th percentile, and defensively, he really competes, ranking in the 90th percentile for rim defense, which is ridiculous for a guard, holding his opponents to 7.9% worse when he was the primary defender at the basket. In 2027, I expect another near flawless season and another elite Oklahoma City basketball team. Now, coming in at number 1, I've got Victor Wembanyama. During last season's playoff run, Wembanyama, I believe, took the throne as the best player in the NBA. Game 3 against Minnesota and Game 1 against Oklahoma City are just going to be forever ingrained in my mind. Those were the 2 games where it felt like the league officially became his. The biggest reason for that is the defense. Crafted NBA has him in the 100th percentile as an overall defender and for block percentage. At the rim, he's in the 92nd percentile for rim defense, holding opponents to 9.2% worse when he was the primary defender at the basket. But even those numbers don't fully capture his impact. There's no stat for someone driving into the lane, seeing Wemby, and then simply just saying, yeah, nah, let's try something else. In the playoffs, San Antonio were 15.7 points better with him in the game and 9.2 points better defensively. Those bench minutes for the Spurs were a complete catastrophe in the playoffs. And yet, Wemby still got them to the finals in his first playoff run. The next leap for his game, though, is offense. 60% true shooting for a big man is only in the 58th percentile. And in the NBA playoffs, he would have one of those superhuman nights, which would be followed up by games where he just looked really tired. Now, I don't think he's ever going to become a guy like Giannis where he can just overpower someone and get to the rim. He just doesn't have that frame. The answer to me is far simpler. Catch the ball in the mid-range and then just shoot it. No extra dribble, no complicated footwork, just rise and shoot over your defender. No one in the NBA would be able to even bother that shot. And if he can add something like that to his game, I think that's the key right there. Conditioning is also really important for Vic. San Antonio kept his regular season minutes under 30 a game, then suddenly pushed into the mid-30s and 40s in the playoffs basically overnight. I think a smoother ramp-up and a go-to mid-range jumper should make his offense feel a lot more consistent next season. And when you combine that with the fact that he's the best defensive player on planet Earth, I think Victor Wembanyama is going to deliver an MVP caliber season in year 4 and officially become the best player in the NBA. But something else to keep your eye out for next season is this ridiculous rookie class, because the 2026 NBA draft class might just be one of the best draft classes in NBA history. And if you want to see who I have picked to win the Rookie of the Year in 2027, then you need to go ahead and watch this video right now.